because Pharma said so.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I have a little bit of a schizophrenic answer to you for that. So there's two parts of it. One is since every year the challenges are shifting from one extreme to the other, and we have always new challenges that we need to cope with. Sometimes we get dragged into, we need to start doing new things all the time, and we need to question the strategies all the time, and every year we need to find the next big thing, not only from the content perspective but also on the way of how we do the strategy. And there's two elements to it. One is, how do we create the strategy and how do we come to our strategy, and the other one is, what are we doing to get to the strategy? And I'm very traditional on the what. So a brand plan, a brand strategy development is, I think, today very similar in terms of the steps you need to do as it was 20 years ago. It's not like overnight it has changed to do totally different things. The central piece of it is still the patient journey. I think this is every company out there who wants to be patient-centric, and I don't know any pharmaceutical company who is not claiming they want to be patient-centric, needs to have patient journeys and knowing exactly where the patient's going and how the whole kind of way through the healthcare system of a patient is. Also, who are the players in this journey, right? What kind of HCPs, what kind of patient associations, what kinds of payers, and all the other players that are around. This is a central piece, and it was 20 years ago, and it is right now. Still, we see some companies still don't do any patient journey. So we've reviewed brand plans where there's not even a hint of a patient journey, which is quite awkward to me. But that's the what, right? So and the what is typical, very classical situation analysis. Then you do your strategic options, you select your options, you derive your strategic imperatives, or however you want to call them. And based on that, you are creating a tactical plan and the execution. So that is still valid, that concept. I would be very surprised to see a brand planning process that is totally different from that. How we do this is kind of a strange thing because we are locked in the 90s to a certain degree. So how we do this is a workshop with a consulting agency most of the times, or some companies don't use consulting agencies, they do it themselves. I used to learn brand planning without a consultant helping me, so it was really trying to understand by myself, and I had to do it by myself. But it is then a PowerPoint sheet, usually with tons of slides, maybe a couple of Excel slides, Excel sheets, that is then aggregated, and the how is also a very seasonal effect. So what we do is we start brand planning season. Everybody's very upset and agile, and they try to do a lot of things in a short period of time. For, let's say, Global works 2-3 months on a brand plan. Once this is done, we put it in the drawer and we don't try to think about it for the rest of the year, right? Until the next season comes. That doesn't really speak to the closed loop marketing we had a couple of years ago. That doesn't speak to an agile way of working. That doesn't speak to being very responsive of what happens in the market and what happens to your patient journey, right? So actually that process should be an ongoing thing, should be a thing that where you have the ability to course correct. And when I say course correct, it doesn't mean change your strategy every 5 minutes. It just means if there's happening stuff in the market, you may not want to wait until next year when the next brand planning process is happening, right? So you would love to have this in a slightly different manner. And then obviously there's a technology part to it. It's kind of surprising to me that we are in 2025 still doing this in PowerPoint slides, because everybody speaks about AI projects and the foundational need of any kind of AI, and it doesn't really matter what question you want to answer with AI, is a database kind of structure, right? So you can't use a section or a selection of PDF files to train a model. You can do that, but it's super complicated. or it is involved with a lot of manual work, which is highly expensive, and the error rate is pretty high.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is you want to have all your core information about your brand in a database structure rather than in closed containers like a PPT file, in a PDF file, an Excel file. That could be done way smarter. It's a bit like many years ago when Salesforce.com and all these CRM systems that are now in the cloud, they had the same challenge back then. So back then we did CRM systems, either it's a proprietary installed software where the ability to exchange data and information was very limited, or in Excel files sending back and forth, right? So these days, today, I would say no pharma company on this planet has a CRM system that is either proprietary or Excel based, right? That doesn't happen, because it makes no sense.